I'll see people being able to like have fun with their friends, go places, and like genuinely enjoy the moment. I just be thinking like, how do you actually enjoy what you're doing without thinking about the things that you have to do when the fun wears off? I did everything I was supposed to do. Like out of high school, I went to school. I stayed out of trouble. I thought that was what fun was. I thought seeing my dad on the weekends, playing Call of Duty in the room, dropping Moabs on people, and occasionally watching Vsauce and Vice documentaries was like what you're supposed to be doing. And I shouldn't be complaining. There's people like going through it. It's usually people that face adversity together that are able to connect with one another. And it doesn't have to be like getting stranded in the middle of the ocean inside of a container while you're pregnant, like that movie I refuse to watch on Netflix. But I just think that I'm missing like a social life. I know what my problem is really. I know that I could be making way more like friends if I just talk to random people. They already proven that we die faster when we're alone. You hear about old men who had a fantastic marriage with their wife, and then once the wife and dog dies, the old man dies literally like weeks, years later. Being alone or being lonely is equivalent to smoking multiple packs of cigarettes a day. Not getting out and interacting with people, making relationships, exchanging ideas and thoughts in this natural space is really bad for the mind and the heart. During the 90s, there was a heat wave in Chicago. Everybody in the city did not have AC. The heat wave was so bad. When it was all said and done, and apartment complexes and residential areas were being investigated, people found multiple bodies of old people, people without families, loners. Basically, people without social connections, friends and family and colleagues they could rely on during this time. Essentially, loneliness physically killed them. I think the biggest problem that makes me anxious about going outside is the fact that I know that the news separates people, and some people get their news from Fox News, some people get their news from CNN, some people watch too much TikTok. Some people will see something on the internet that they've been looking at for 20 minutes in a mindless scroll and go back to you and be like, the Palestinians are actually black. And it's just like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about right now? Makes me wonder though, like, technically, are the Palestinians black? Are African Americans the original Israelites? I'm just playing. I don't ever wonder about that shit. A lot of people are just scared to talk to each other nowadays. And I'm not trying to be dramatic, but I really think that also plays into statistics that also show that the labor force has been reduced and young people aren't getting careers, young people aren't having children. And at a certain point, we are needing to rely on outside factors like automation. And that doesn't look good from an economic standpoint for the future generations, because not only are we going to end up like Japan after their economy exploded in the late 80s, we're also going to be in a situation where we are literally living in virtualized worlds 24/7, because virtualized reality is better than physical reality. Whenever I do have the chance to talk to somebody, it's usually to occupy other areas of my life that are stunned because I am stuck looking at a screen multiple hours of the day. If you combine what I'm already doing with its implications into my life and how I naturally am, I would like to say, it creates a situation where, when I walk into a grocery store to get something to eat or go shopping, whatever, I am thinking about what other people are thinking about as I'm minding my business, knowing that they're probably not thinking about me. You never know what could happen at any time. And social media perpetuates this message that, the world is crazy, that murders are happening all the time. And they perpetuate it in a way where an agenda is established in order to build a narrative for a scapegoat. So you may see artifacts or relics that reflect the ideas of that scapegoat in public, you're not consciously saying, oh, that's the thing I've been seeing everybody talk about in a bad way. But subconsciously, I really believe that we've kind of been influenced to like avoid stuff like that, avoid the thing that is talked about in a bad way, in a way that would make us uncomfortable, until that thing is essentially obsolete. And that goes for culture, that goes for personal interactions between people. Technically, that's culture. You hear a lot of old people say, not old people. I feel like if you're 35 to like 50 years old, you're not necessarily old. But you hear a lot of people in that age range talk about how like the younger generations don't really make eye contact with people, how we don't even want to hang out with our friends. Like my dad would talk about playing basketball in Chicago and how he got really good at basketball because like he just would play at the park. The third world is an area where, you know, you have places like barbershops, you have places like the malls where people essentially congregate and they just interact with each other. The barbershop is really the only place you will ever see people talk about things, right? Just with no attachment to a religion, with no attachment to a certain bias. Yeah, what they're saying may be biased or religious, but they're not obligated to participate in a certain domain based on the rules of like a more hierarchical entity. There was a situation where these two barbers were talking about like sports. I don't really care for sports, but they were really into it. They were talking about the teams and what they hate about this player and what this coach is going to do and what that means for the commission. And it was just extraordinary to know that like people are really into certain things that don't make a difference in regards to growth in their life. When I watch family members watch football games and stuff like that, they are really in tuned into the television. They're looking at the game like, it's almost like they're there. They're against like a separate tribe. And it's that tribalism approach that I've never really been able to get into. When I used to go to games or when I used to participate in things that require like dichotomized group effort, I would be like, why am I doing this? I could be at home watching a movie, or like I could be saving money. It's all of these things that I think about that makes me not want to do the stuff. And then when I don't do the stuff, I feel bad about it. Like when you don't text somebody that you're really close to or that you think you're close to, and then when you text them, you're like, I see why I stopped talking to you. Overall, I just want to be, I was about to say I just want to be successful, but I just made that video dogging Drake, so I would feel bad. Seriously though, man, I just want a peaceful life, bro. I want a peaceful life, and I want a small amount of friends around me that make me feel like I'm a human being, that make me feel like I'm heard without subconsciously making me feel like I'm being judged or I can't say certain things. I don't really have too many friends like that. I have a very small, like almost minuscule amount of companionship in my life through different people I know who I can talk about these things with. The crowds that you see really extroverted people with will make you think that everybody in their friend group knows everything about everybody, and like they're just connected to this one underlying tone that they all have.